Older millennials of Reddit, what was life like in the 2000s? Music was huge. We had pop punk bands like Blink-182 and Green Day. TV shows like Friends and The Sopranos were at their peak. We didn't have YouTube yet, so we'd watch music videos on MTV or VH1. Kids today don't know the joy of getting a new CD on release day.
1. New episodes of shows came out at a specific time on a specific day, so you'd plan your week around it, then talk about it the next day at work, school, or plan to watch it with someone every week. Sometimes I'd even call friends during commercial breaks to discuss what was happening in that episode too. The incredible amount of fat shaming and fat jokes that were so pervasive in 2000 society. It's really hard to communicate effectively because even though people are definitely still dicks about it, and the media and social media still focuses on idolizes thin people, there were so many magazines constantly recommending diet tips, gossip magazines negatively commenting on stars who took a single bad photo. Starlet gained 20 stress pounds, and regular people would compare diets as a normal social interaction. You also never saw clothes in sizes bigger than L in non-plus size stores. It really is a different world in that regard.
We used to go over to someone's house after school and just sit on the computer, like 4 or 5 people just playing flash games or going to weird random sites they had heard of and watching terrible content. Now, a days, IDK, maybe kids do a similar thing with their phones and send each other media, but I'll always remember those days and knowing when that motherfucker Adam got on the computer that I was about to see some weird shit.
You could actually understand what rappers were saying. Snoop Dogg impersonates today's mumble rappers. It's scary accurate. As someone who has now lived in 4 decades, the 2000s by far has had the worst fashion so far. I see you younger generations trying to bring some of it back, and you all need to stop it. Let's see. I turned 18 in 2000. Cell phones were starting to get really popular, where most people would have one. I got my first one in 2001 and seemed late to the party. They had this thing called roaming, though, where you were charged a lot extra if you were out of network or calling outside the hours in your plan. Cell plans would often have free nights and weekends, perfect for a young person, but not a business person. Texting wasn't really a thing until 2005, and it seemed like a strange concept. But that soon became really popular. Cameras on phones took really bad pictures. Disposable cameras were slowly dying out, and digital cameras were what most people used. Fashion was flare jeans, messy parts until the side part craze in the late 2000s. Low-rise pants were extremely low, like 1-inch zippers. Everyone wore rubber thong sandals, sometimes with a wedge. Those are coming back. Layering tank tops and shirts on each other was very popular. Designer jeans were super popular. Brands like 7 for All Mankind, Juicy Couture, Rock and Republican, True Religion, Citizens of Humanity. There were a lot of cargo pants and cargo shorts for guys. A lot of people shopped at Abercrombie and Fitch, Hollister, American Eagle. UGG boots became wildly popular for women in 2003. I managed to nab a pair of classic shorts, but UGGs were sold out across the country. MySpace was the platform in 2005 to 2007, and then Facebook started taking over. MySpace had a lot of bugs and the fake profiles were overwhelming. Although I loved how I could design my own MySpace page and got really into it. Facebook didn't have that options. Facebook did have a things called apps that you could decorate your page with to an extent. Like one was a corkboard with little buttons you could choose from called pieces of flair like Office Space. But it wasn't the same. I didn't have an internet in my phone for the entirety of the 2000s. I had to be at home or go to a coffee shop. We printed out directions from a site called MapQuest. No Google Maps. CDs were still a thing, but some people started to get MP3 players and iPods. There were also music sharing platforms like Kazaa, LimeWire, etc. You had to be careful what you downloaded, though. Kazaa gave my computer a zillion viruses. I also once spent 24 hours downloading what I thought was Snoop Dogg Doggy Style album, but it ended up being porn. Oh, and this TV streaming shit and Roku, Hulu, Netflix? Hell no. There were regular TV channels and cable. A boyfriend of mine climbed an electrical pole and got us free cable. Netflix did exist, but it was a DVD you'd receive in the mail, watch it, and send it back in the mail. There wasn't much direct deposit either or online bill paying. You get a paper paycheck that you would take to the bank. Bills were paid with checks that you put in an envelope and send in the mail. There's more. May come back and edit this. The 90s and 2000s were a perfect blend of comfortable analog life and the tantalizing promise of a digital future. It was a time when you could go to the mall and literally be disconnected from everyone but the friends you met there. Your parents couldn't call you. Your work couldn't call you. None of you were staring at a screen texting people who weren't there. It was just you mall rats, your shopping, and the food court. But it was also a period when you might have a beeper or an early cell phone or a Palm Pilot, things that were amazing at the time and made you feel like you were living in the future. It's hard to convey that feeling to somebody who has grown up in the digital era, but try to imagine living in a world where getting separated from your friends at the mall meant an hour of searching for them, store by store, and then suddenly having a small flip phone you call them on. The technology was just advanced enough to be incredibly useful without being advanced enough yet to consume you. It was a time when every year brought insane leaps in technology, jumping from 2D graphics to fully 3D voodoo-powered wonder. Think about it. This period literally went from Super Mario World to Batman Arkham Asylum. These were real, genuine, and exciting things to look forward to rather than just the year's new iPhone with a slightly enhanced camera that you only pretend to see the difference in. The internet itself was still a new, wild frontier. It hadn't been captured by huge corporate interests yet and wasn't overrun by the lowest common denominators spamming social media for clicks and dollars. There simply wasn't a big financial incentive yet, so everybody who was surfing those digital waves was just there to have fun. It's a time that will probably never come again. I delivered pizzas in college around this time. Where we worked, there was a big-ass map on the wall of the whole city with each street listed alphabetically in several columns at the bottom. Each street had a grid number which corresponded to a square area on the map. You looked in this area to find the street, and then you had to write it down or just had to remember it. The real fun was when you would go out on deliveries with multiple stops and just had to remember all of it. Typing this out feels so ancient, LOL, I swear I'm not even that old. Funny how it forced our brains to work more effectively in this manner. I can't really imagine doing that now. It was a simpler time. We hung out at the mall, played video games like Halo and Grand Theft Auto. Social media wasn't as big, so we actually called our friends on the phone to make plans. Napster and LimeWire were the go-to for downloading music.
If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe